to another episode of One Patriot. I am Burning Spear Patriot.
And I am Libby Patriot.
And today we are going to be doing a quick review on the return of Donald Trump. He came back and he did a kind of like a speech or a, what would you call that? Kind of like a rally.
State of the Union
Yeah,
address.
State of the Union. He did kind of like a State of the Union speech at the CPAC. He addressed a lot of things. It was very good to see him come back and still full of energy, still full of positive energy. We're just going to be going through a review of all of that. There are a couple of things in there that I thought were kind of left me a little bit, not a lot to be desired, but a little bit more to be desired. But there are a lot of good things in there that I'm glad that he addressed. The first issue we're going to talk about is the border issue. Now, I've always been pro secure borders, pro having the border secure, making sure we have a good plan to stop illegal immigration, making sure that we are not having open borders. So he addressed that, and he did it masterfully by displaying how Biden is pretty much just destroying everything that he built. All the hard work going into the wall, when it comes to them not finishing the wall, the Biden administration I'm talking about, when it comes to them not finishing the wall, when it comes to they're pretty much essentially abolishing ICE. They're letting all the detainees go out. They're not catching them and sending them back to their country. They're catching them and they're releasing them. So they're pretty much reverting back to the old policy of the old establishment, catch and release, instead of catching them and sending them back to their country. So I was very happy that he addressed that.
I think he brought up a super valid point about not only for immigration as a whole, or I think I'm a little bit more. I'm not open border by any means. I do believe in border security, but a point that he brought up was during, mid-pandemic, you're going to let all these people in when we've had closed borders for a reason. Trump was attacked for his border policies, and now you're going to open the floodgate. It's contrarian. Like, it doesn't make sense.
It just seems like they are being contrarian, and it just seems like they're just anything that Trump does, they just want to do the opposite of it and just do away with it, instead of looking at the results and say, hey, maybe we were wrong on this issue. We'll just keep the policies that Trump had going. What they're doing is they're just reverting back to the old way that did not work. They're giving these guys that they catch, these guys and these women that they catch, dates, and they're not coming back to their court dates. So they just get lost in the system, or they just get lost.
Because, like Trump said, they're not stupid.
They're not stupid. He says they're not sending their best, but that doesn't mean that they're stupid, So as it goes towards the pandemic, in relation to the pandemic, these people are not getting tested. There's no adequate medical records on them. We don't, like, a lot of times we don't know where they come from. Sometimes they're bringing children that over here that are not even accompanied with their real parents. And that's just something that the Biden administration is just, they're not prepared for. So it's just one of those things where I'm glad that he addressed it, and moving forward, and hopefully that can be an issue that keeps being brought up so that because one of the main issues, like, and this is like across the board, illegal immigration is like a top 5 issue amongst Americans. So every time they take these polls on what is the main issue, what is the main issue, healthcare is one of them, the economy is one of them, and illegal immigration is another one. So that's always being brought up as one of the top issues. So I'm glad that he brought that up during the CPAC State of the Union.
So am I. And just one other final little point on that. I think it is also, he talks about America first a lot, and that is a huge part to this too. Is like,
absolutely,
how many millions of Americans are facing homelessness?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going, and not that I'm not compassionate, if someone had a plan for ensuring that our citizens first aren't going to go homeless, and then worrying about people claiming asylum, then okay, but if we are looking at suddenly millions of Americans becoming homeless, coupled with, letting thousands of people come across borders, that just screams a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. And then we are already, the strain on this country, just from this pandemic alone, and then you add in the illegal immigration, it's just something that is a major issue. It has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed in an effective way. And just going back to the old way is just not something that we need to be doing. Talking about COVID, Trump brought in the fact that he was the one that initiated the Operation Warp Speed. Now, the Operation Warp Speed that he enacted, the Biden administration is now trying to take credit, or not necessarily take credit, but the thing that they're criticizing, they're continuing what they criticized. They haven't brought in or implemented anything new as far as what Trump was doing.
In all fairness, they brought up double masking. Now we have double masking.
Double masking. Yeah. I mean, geez, that's pretty much the only new thing that they brought up was Fauci talking about the double masking, and Fauci is a loser. That guy's a complete joke. I don't even acknowledge him, any of his credentials, because the guy is just 100% just flip-flopping on everything. He's never stood his ground on anything. He's been flip-flopping throughout this whole thing. Right. He's not impressive. I don't understand the whole hype about this guy. But
and there's something because people's counterpoint to that, of course, is like, oh, well, as the science evolves and the science changes, and it's like, well, when there's science that was there the entire time, and it's not, the standard hasn't been maintained, even though that evidence has been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
That's where it's questionable. So.
Yeah, I mean, yes, science changes. We didn't know a lot that we know now, but there's still, here's the thing. Even though the science changed, even though we know a lot more than we knew back then, there's still things that the Democrats are doing, as far as the governors and the mayors, that they know don't work.
Right.
As far as lockdowns.
Exactly.
As far as the mask. As far as just keeping everything shut down, these businesses that are being hurt every day, keeping them shut down, when we know that even if you do lock down, the numbers don't really necessarily change. Look at Florida, for example. Look at South Dakota, for example. Florida is, I think they're like number 27 on the death toll.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and that's like on the lower half of the ranking of the death toll in this country. Yet, the guy who runs it, his name is Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. he's sitting real pretty right now, because before they were criticizing this guy for how he handled the pandemic while praising Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah.
And we all see what happened with that. So
and Newsom.
Governor Newsom.
Look at their death rates, and they have the strictest lockdowns in the country.
Exactly. Like in don't tell me that it's because New York is dense and they have a whole bunch of people. Excuse me, Florida has about 2 million more people than New York, and they're still on the lower half of the death toll rates. So I don't want to hear that.
Well, and if you're saying, we're talking about population density, then it doesn't make any sense to hold Florida to the same standard that New York's in if they're in different densities. It doesn't make sense, and you have to treat them like different situations,
right.
which they are. So.
Yeah. I mean, DeSantis looked at the CDC. He used common sense. He looked at the CDC guidelines, and he said, okay, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to be smart about it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take and target the people, the most vulnerable people, and I'm going to target them and make sure that they are the most protected. And then I'm just going to let everybody else build herd immunity. I'm not going to shut down everything. I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to be a real leader, as opposed to Andrew Cuomo, who just panicked and just shut down everything. Even like his anticipation was just terrible. He anticipated the hospitals just being completely overrun. They were never overran. He anticipated them to have a shortage of ventilators. There was never a shortage of ventilators. He had all this help from the federal government. He had all this help from
waiting on standby too for
right.
more help if they
exactly.
needed. And didn't they have ventilators too that were in storage or something that other states needed? They didn't.
Other states needed. Other places around the country could have used them. They were sitting in storage. He never needed those ventilators that he even initially had. They never even used the ventilators that they initially had. But he went and cried to Donald Trump to give him all of these ventilators, and the federal government gave him all the ventilators he needed. Or he said they said he needed, So they got the
USS Mercy set up temporary hospitals, all
temporary hospitals, and there was this one temporary hospital that set up, and they never used the hospital, and then the state just went ahead and taxed that hospital too. It was just like, wow, this hospital is here to help you, and you're still taxing them. You didn't even use the hospital, and it's just like, it's a dirty game. It's so dirty. I mean, the way they handled this whole, the travel ban and everything. I mean, not the travel ban. Sorry, that's the next topic. But the whole way they handled the COVID thing was just a big blunder.
Well, I mean, you could say, there were a lot of blunders, but they definitely used it as a means to an end as well.
Yeah.
It was definitely a manipulated situation.
Absolutely. And I think we talked about this before, how they said they will never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yep.
And this was the perfect opportunity
for
them, to use this crisis as to just pretty much just grab the power, control the people, and destroy everything, destroy people's livelihoods so they can gain power. That was the ultimate game, the ultimate plan.
Yep.
And they executed it pretty good.
They did. They had a few wrenches thrown in there.
Yeah.
But
and we're gonna touch on that, how COVID affected other things, in particular the elections. But we'll get to that a little bit later. So we're just gonna go ahead and segue into how he talked about how Biden is lifting all the travel bans on these hostile countries. These countries like Somalia, Yemen, Syria, Libya, just countries that don't, for the most part, and I'm not saying everybody in those countries are anti-America, but they have groups in those countries that are very hostile towards America. And Biden just lifts the ban, and it's, come on, man. We knew he was going to do that, but it's just like, it just gets ridiculous. And now he's planning on bringing all of these refugees into the country, putting them, probably he's going to strategically put these refugees in certain parts of the country, same way they did with Minnesota, with Barack Obama, how he brought the refugees into Minnesota, and now Minnesota is like little Somalia right now, and they're obviously never going to be a community that votes for Republicans or the conservative. Right. They're always going to vote for the Democrats because those are the ones who got them out of that situation and put them in. They were strategically put in that situation or that area to manipulate and control how the voting goes. So Biden is going to continue that by lifting the travel ban and also by taking in all the refugees. And these refugees are not same thing as the same situation with the border. There are no medical records on these refugees. There are no, especially during a pandemic, there's no record on who they are a lot of times, and we have to just take the people in for who they are. We don't know who they are, you know, and it's just a big issue.
Yeah, and I mean, I have no basis for this. Well, it's a smart tactic on his part, but part of me wonders too. And again, I don't have any credible basis other than like, it's a wonder. I wonder if, like, is part of the reason, probably get in trouble, but is part of the reason for opening up and lifting these travel bans, does he want a reason? Is he opening up the doorway to let something happen that would prompt another war? Or
I mean, I wouldn't put it past him, because this is this is a sinister thing, you know. This is something, I mean, that is something that I wouldn't put past them, and these people are sinister. Yeah. So,
and even if it's not Biden specifically, but you know, the military-industrial complex, that's basically running the show now.
Yes, they are. They control Biden.
Yes.
And they control these politicians that are, they're pretty much lobbying about all of these politicians that are a part of the establishment. So I wouldn't put it past them. I would not put it past them. And it just going off of how they handle these things as far as like foreign policy, the way that the establishment handles foreign policy is just it's always for some kind of ulterior motive. How can I help out my best friend? Not best friend, or how can I help out my friend, my corporate friend, my you know,
my friends.
My friends that give me money for campaigns, you know, for campaigns. And if the person that scratches my back, how can I scratch their back?
Exactly.
The way you can scratch their back is by getting into a war or getting into, you know, some kind of conflict where these military defense corporations can come in and be like, hey, I got just the thing for you. And the government goes and then buys from them. They can use the money, the taxpayer money, to buy from these military defense companies. So it's just a big game, you know.
It is.
Yeah, it's garbage. It's so dirty. It's so dirty. Trump, on the other hand, is a guy who is he definitely wants a strong military, and I definitely applaud that. I want to have the biggest gun.
Yeah.
I want to have the biggest gun so I don't have to use it.
Right.
You know, I want to have the biggest and baddest military so I don't have to use it. I can come to the negotiation table with that on my side.
Right.
And I could be like, yo, let's negotiate. Let's have peace. Let's not get into conflict. But if you want to get into conflict, that's going to be on you.
Yeah. These are the consequences you're facing.
Right. But just know that we have no problem getting into conflict with you. Just know that you are going to lose this conflict.
Right.
But we want to negotiate. And that's that's why I like Trump's philosophy on foreign policy. Have the biggest gun, but that is the last resort.
Yep.
The gun is the last resort.
Biden. What's the saying? The warrior in the garden.
Right. Yeah.
That would be the warrior in the garden.
Absolutely.
Than a gardener in a war.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I mean, like talking about Trump, his historical peace deals that he's made, especially at the end of his presidency, like those peace deals were historic, and he got literally no credit for it. And he talked about that in the CPAC.
People scoffed at it.
Yeah.
It
was just like, oh yeah, by the way, Trump made another peace deal. Whatever.
It's just,
He's still a racist.
Yeah, he's still a racist.
He's still a bigot.
Yeah, he still wants to start wars.
Yeah, he's still fascist.
Yeah.
He's still Hitler.
Yep.
Segueing to another topic. We're going to be talking about the WHO because Trump hit on that. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to talk about that because I did not know the disparity between how much we are paying as opposed to a country like China.
Right.
Here's what I don't understand about this whole thing. We are paying $500 million every year to the World Health Organization, right? As opposed to China paying $39 million a year to the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization, don't you think they should be at least shilling for us? Or at least
you'd think, right?
Yeah, you would think because and on another note, I mean, doesn't China have 1 billion people?
Yes. I don't know the exact number, but yeah, a lot.
Somewhere near 1 billion people. And we only have 300 million
300
people?
Million, yeah.
Why are we paying more millions or more dollars than what we have?
Well,
as far as population. We have 300 million people, but we're paying $500 million a year.
Yeah, China has almost 1.4 billion.
Yeah.
India, the same.
Yeah.
We have 328 million.
Yeah. So how is China only paying 39 million a year? It doesn't make sense to me. And then on top of that, what adds insult to injury and throws salt on the wound, they're shilling for China. They're covering up for China.
Covering up for China during the entire beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Is what?
Oh gosh, I just couldn't. That was news to me, and I was surprised. I was like, what? Why is there such a big gap in pay?
Yeah.
And what we're, comparing the two.
If someone can explain it, we'd love to hear.
Yeah.
Because I can't find any logic as to why.
Yeah, I can't find any logic either. I don't understand why that is. I don't get it. It's like Trump said it perfectly. It's because whoever was in charge of that was stupid.
Yeah.
Was stupid. That's the only logical explanation to explain that. We are paying $500 million a year to an organization that covered for a country that only puts in $39 million a year it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I don't know. Maybe there are some benefits we receive as a country that I'm not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'd like to be made aware.
I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any benefits. I mean, China brought on this entire pandemic on the entire world, not just us, the entire world.
Right.
And there are some people that are getting paid under the table. They're not just giving $39 million to the organization. They're giving these people millions of dollars that are running the organization.
Right.
The people who are running this World Health Organization, they're getting paid personally by China under the table. So that's the only logical explanation I can think of. There's no way that they would just throw us under the bus and not even like it was crazy. I think they said something like, they said out a tweet that China was, what was it? There's no way you can pass it through human contact or something like that. There was a tweet that came out, and they
don't wear masks. It's gonna make it worse.
Yeah, don't wear masks because it's gonna make it worse. And then they put out something about like, oh, China is the leading example, or China's been the best example for this entire.
Oh, so lock in all our citizens, literally barring them inside so they die in their.
Yeah, they welded the doors, and it's like, wow, these people are nuts. They're covering for China.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so like Trump brought up too, why did we come back at that donation level? Like, right. Okay, we're back in. It was just like, sorry, our bad. Like,
yeah, because he did point out, you're right. They said, okay, when he negotiated, when he was like, yo, why are we paying $500 million? We shouldn't be paying y'all $500 million when China pays $39 million and they have more people than us. They're a bigger country than us. Explain that to us. And it's like, okay, the WHO said, okay. We'll make you just pay $39 million. And then Trump was just like, no, we're not paying you anything.
Yeah.
We're out. So
I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to do that. No, screw that.
Yeah.
And then the Biden administration comes in and says, okay, we're going to pay you $500 million again.
Oh, okay, because we have money to burn.
Yeah, it's like, why are you already had a deal, a precedent that was set at the negotiation table. Take the $39 million if you're going to go back into this stupid organization. Take the $39 million and call it a day.
Right.
But you go and you say, yeah, we'll pay you $500 million. After what they did, that's why I say Beijing Biden is the perfect nickname for this guy. Beijing Biden. Because that's what he is. He's a shield for Beijing. He's a shield for China. Mm-hmm. And there's nobody that can tell me differently.
Yep. Him and LeBron are on the same team.
I know. LaChina James. Gosh. He needs to shut up and dribble. That guy's a freaking idiot. I mean, speaking of these other organizations, the Paris Climate Accord. Now, I am the least knowledgeable person on this particular topic. I just know things that both sides say. One side say it's great because it keeps countries in check and it holds countries accountable. It gives countries guidelines on how to battle climate change and things of that nature. And then I hear on the other side, mostly the side that is conservative, say that this is costing people millions of jobs. Right. This is the United States has done more than their fair share, while other countries that are part of this, including India, is India part of it or no?
I'm not sure.
Uh-huh. I know that China is a part of it, for a fact. But I think Russia's not a part of it.
Yeah, Russia's not a part of it. Turkey's not a part of it. Mm-hmm. And those are two huge polluters.
Right.
Yeah.
And China's another huge polluter. But I think that China is one of those that are part of this Paris Climate Change, Paris Climate Accord agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So China is a big polluter. India is a big polluter. If they are part of it, they're not doing their part.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think my phone's going to be ridiculous. I think overall, as sorry, I was just trying to.
So are you trying to look for the?
Yeah, I was trying to see who was a part of it. Just 13 signatories, but this was 2018, so this could be dated. The biggest one: Iran, Iraq, Kyrgyzstan, Lebanon, Libya, Russia, Turkey, and Yemen. There's a few others, but those are the big ones. So I think overall it's a feel-good agreement. Cool.
Oh, look what we're doing.
Yeah. But there's no real way to enforce it. So it's it really has no teeth. So it's we can do it because we, who doesn't want to save the earth, right? Make sure we're preserving it for future generations. It is something to address. But when it's coming to the point where the United States is being held, again, to this higher standard, and when our, I haven't looked at recent data, but when our emissions are significantly lower, and yet we're looked at as these huge contributors to climate change, it's
when you got Greta Thunberg
yes,
talking down on the United States, but she says nothing about China. I've never heard her say anything about China. I vaguely heard her say anything about India.
Yeah,
it's always about China or the UK or one of these other Western countries that she comes down hard on the Western countries, but she doesn't say anything about these other countries that are in the East. So I mean, it's just easy to come down on the Western countries because Western countries are just oh, okay.
We have the guilt.
Yeah, we have the guilt.
We have the guilt, and we do have the means, to make some changes, which, isn't the worst thing in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it drives innovation. I think there's a lot of benefit there.
I mean, if we can come up with better, more efficient ways to come up with, better ways to get energy, better ways to consume energy where it doesn't hurt the climate.
Right.
Definitely, by all means. But if you're going to destroy people's livelihood,
when you're looking at millions of jobs, that number's debated. But when you're looking at millions of jobs potentially lost.
Well, I think it was, what was it, according to the data, it was 2.7 million people will lose jobs, according to if we go by the Paris Climate Accord agreement. 2.7 million people will lose their jobs by 2025.
Well,
and then
they can just learn to code, right?
Learn to code. Yeah, exactly.
That's a joke.
I know. Yeah. Or and then by 2050, it was how many trillion? I think it was was it 12 trillion? I think it was 12 trillion or something by 2050.
In economic losses?
Right.
Yeah.
That's how much
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was staggering.
Yeah.
So, unless that could be shifted another way, then, but we're not going to do it just by I don't know, consuming less. So there has to be better technologies in order to even make any of this possible, or people have to give up their cushy lifestyle. That's the only, and people aren't going to do that. So that's why I say it's a feel good thing, but
a big feel good thing. I mean, when we talked about it before, how it doesn't, unless you're willing to just live in a cabin by the river and give up your livelihood, it's this is not going to work. Even if you go green, let's say you go green, right? As an example, let's say you want to be green and go and drive a green energy car. That battery that is used to give that car its life, or used to give that car, as opposed to gas, people are going through hell to get the material, which is called cobalt, to mine the material.
Yep.
Cobalt is mined in Africa. These are people that are going through hell to mine for this material. This material that is mined in these dangerous environments is used for your computers, it's used for your cars, it's used for like just all types of things,
right,
that the green movement wants to move to.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like you're not going to, if you give up something, you're going to get I don't know how to say it. It's just like,
to me, it's like, okay, so you're going this green lifestyle. That's cool. That's neat. But it's coming at the expense of someone else at this point.
Yeah.
It's,
your comfort
you
is
can
gonna
feel, your comfort.
Your comfort is at the expense of somebody else's comfort.
Yep. You're still exploiting.
You're still
people.
exploiting. It's crazy how these most of these guys that are complaining and getting upset about things that are going on, are that they get upset about, like whether it's like people who are being exploited, child labor or child exploitation, and any kind of thing that these folks scream and holler at. They're doing it from their iPhone. They're doing it from their Mac. They're doing it from these Chinese made things, products, and these products that are being made in China are being made with the same type of thing that you're complaining about, that you're upset about.
Right.
They're being made from exploitation. They're being made through slavery. They're being made. These people that are making these products are going through hell.
Yep. The same things that you would, not you personally, but activists in general would rightfully so protest and get very social justice warrior over. If it were happening in the United States, is still happening, and they could not care less. Or they might think, oh, that's unfortunate. But they're still going about their everyday life with no real action or change to their own comfort.
Well, it's one of those things where you have the liberal in suburbia that is just so social justice warrior, and they are happy complaining from the comfort of their local coffee shop or their local whatever, where they go and sip their little tea and lattes. They're happy complaining about everything that's going on. Just keep it away from here. So I can complain from my little ivory tower. You know what I mean?
Don't bring it to my front yard, and I put it in a space where I can ignore it.
Yes, put it in a space where I can ignore it, where it doesn't affect me. I mean, and we can go back to the whole illegal immigration thing, where they can, the people who are such staunch open border type people are always people that are liberals that live in great living conditions. They don't think about the people that these illegal aliens are going to be integrating with. these schools that are going to be taking in these children of illegal immigrants, how is that affecting the American little student or the American child? You're taking resources away from the American child.
Yep.
And liberals that are living in their little suburban area, they don't care because that doesn't affect them. Their kids are going to be going to a good school.
Right.
So it's just one of those things, like, you know, we've gotten away from
Yeah.
that point, but it was just, you know, one of those things that liberals love to do. They love to get on their freaking moral high ground or their little moral pulpit and just talk down on you, but
Yep.
they're no better.
Yep.
They're no better. So we are going to go into Biden and the trans policies next. The transgender policies.
It's about to get spicy.
Yeah, it's about to get a little bit spicy. Now, Biden, we all know that Biden is definitely pandering. He does not care about the transgender community whatsoever. It's just the Democrats have just moved on. They what they've done essentially is just moved on from black people and on to trans people. Because they know, but Democrats aren't stupid. They know strategy. They know they're smart.
They got what they needed from black people.
Yeah, they have what they need. It's in the bag. It's like
Yep.
It's in the back pocket. You know, they don't have to work for black people anymore because the vote is
Not
in the
for
bag.
another 3 years.
Yeah,
you know,
not for another
until
3 years, and then
we'll ramp
BLM
it
is
back
gonna
up.
Yep.
Yep.
BLM is gonna magically pop up again in 3 years. Watch.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll be back in, when election comes because they're nothing but a arm of the Democrat Party. But I digress. So, like I said, Biden does not care about the trans community. So what he's going to, but he does want their votes, and he wants the votes of the people who support trans community.
Right.
So what he did was he strategically placed this person who identifies as transgender to the health was the health or the health department?
Yeah.
Or was it the education department?
No, it was health.
Okay, yeah. And, you know, Trump didn't really hit on that subject, but he did hit on the policies that Biden was trying to implement as far as allowing transgender women to participate in women's sports. And I was very happy that he hit on that. And it was like, thank you for addressing that. This is this is the first person besides Tulsi Gabbard, like mainstream politician besides Tulsi Gabbard, that has really come out, somebody that has an impact, that has really come out and said something against this transgender women participating in women's sports.
Yep.
And I really appreciate him for that, because that is just, that whole topic is disgusting. It's disgusting.
I also really appreciate him saying it. So I identify as a feminist. Like, I support LGBT community. You know, but as a feminist, I can't support trans women.
You have to draw the line somewhere.
Yes, because
trans women participating in women's sports.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, not in sports in general. Did I say that?
No, I didn't hear you say sports. I just can't support them.
I have so many thoughts on this subject that I'm like, where do I start? So
honestly, I mean, I'm not a person that, you know, I'm not going to come out and say that I support transgenders at all, because like I really don't understand the whole reasoning behind it, and I don't get it. I will never get it. I will never understand it. it's just, the whole thing is weird to me. And I might sound ignorant, I might sound like a transphobe, but I will never understand the whole transgender thing. And it just doesn't hit with me.
Yeah.
And when you add the element of them participating when in women's sports, transgender women, now that's when you're starting to make me angry.
Right.
And that's when you're starting to piss me off.
Agreed. Because that's when it starts affecting other people's, other women specifically, their lives. So once that barrier is broken, that's when I'm like, no, that's when we need to address, what's going on. And I have other concerns, about the transgender community in general as a whole, but we can save that for another topic, specifically for this one in particular. Revolving around sports, you hear the debate like, oh, it's such a microscopic, demographic that it doesn't even really matter. Like, who's it affecting? And it's like, well, the number of transgender women in sports, that might be a small number, but the number of women that it's affecting is huge. Yeah. Especially when you get higher up and you're looking at records being set. Yeah. It's like, well, now thousands of women, biological women, have to face this standard or try to live up to the standard that they're not. This makes me like, it's hard for me to choke out, but it's like, but the reality is that there are biological difference between man and woman. And so when you're talking about
this,
we've talked about this in great length, because I'm very much the one like, I can do anything a man can do, women can do. And it's just like, there's a reality there that,
from a physical standpoint, that is just it's something that is we have to face. There's a reality check that we have to. It hits us, you know. We are hit with that reality check that men are built different than women. Yep. I saw something. I don't mean to cut you off. I'll let you get back to your point. But I saw something that was just completely disgusting. I saw a video of a transgender woman that looked like LeBron with a wig on racing against these women. And this was like a high school track event. I think it was hurdles?
I thought you were talking about the community college. Yeah, the hurdles one, that was just like...
It looked like LeBron James was racing against these women. LeBron James in a wig, pretty much. And she just shattered the women. Like, it was like, it got to the point where you see the video, and the video was focused on the girls and this transgender woman, and they raced, and the transgender woman just left them. Like, they weren't, the women weren't even on the screen anymore. That's how fast, and that's how much of a difference the physical aspect between a man and a woman is. You can't compare the two. And Biden, this administration, has put down all of these executive orders. This whole thing about the Equality Act, whatever BS that they're trying to put out, it's just got me just... It's just going to make it to where they're going to destroy women's sports. Yeah. There needs to be more feminists speaking out, like feminists, real feminists such as yourself should be coming out. It shouldn't just be you. It shouldn't just be Tulsi Gabbard. I'm not the biggest fan of Tulsi Gabbard, but she is principled, and I respect her. It was like, I was saying something a couple of months back. Like, damn, man, Tulsi Gabbard's going to make me start liking her. I don't like this woman, but she is principled. Yep. And she is a real feminist. Yes. And I appreciate people who stand their ground. Yeah. And it's just like, people are just, well, I'm a feminist, but I'm just not going to talk about it because I don't want to be canceled by woke culture. And it's just like,
well, women are being canceled.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, the woman with an X, oof, that makes me so angry. I'm like, I'm all for inclusivity, but don't cancel my identity. I identify as a woman. I am a woman. Don't cancel it, because I grew up applauding, as did many other feminists, women throughout centuries that have lost their lives battling so that I could be a woman. Don't try to cancel that.
Yeah. It's like you're taking a group that I guess is you're trampling on somebody else's rights to get your rights. When you do that, that just it distorts the whole movement. It just makes it it makes your movement look weak. It makes your movement look it just makes your movement, it destroys your whole movement, in my opinion, because when you're trampling on somebody else's rights to fight for your rights, that's not what a movement is supposed to be about.
Exactly. And I never thought that, Candace Owens, I didn't write down her exact tweet, but she tweeted something along the lines of, if you're wondering what feminism is, it is Trump having the courage to protect the integrity of women's sports. And Absolutely. It's like, oh snap, I wouldn't have ever thought that I would say, oh yeah, here's Trump standing up for feminist, or like being a feminist, but she hit it spot on,
Absolutely. If you're a feminist and you have any problem with what Trump said, you're not a feminist to me. I mean, regardless of if it's Trump or saying, if regardless of who says it, if you have a problem with what he said or what he's doing, standing up for women's sports, standing up for the rights of women, not having to compete with other men, you have a problem with that and you call yourself a feminist? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Right. Because you can... I think that there's this thought that you have to be, supportive of trans women, and I'm like, okay, cool, you're a woman. I'll give you that respect that you're asking for. You identify as a woman, cool, you're a woman. But that doesn't mean that I have to let my what's the word I'm looking for? Not even necessarily rights, but my potential, my future, my niece's future, my neighbors, it's like, I don't have to let that be jeopardized.
Yeah, you're because your accolades are going to be affected by it. Like let's say that you have this woman that is the fastest woman in the world. She's gonna continue to get second because she has to race against a man.
Yeah.
That identifies as a woman.
And you know what? Maybe I'm wrong on this. I don't know. Maybe the vast majority of women don't care. I don't think that's the case. But why don't we have? Well, a couple thoughts here. We could have.
Go ahead.
So we have. Test it out. Let's have men's sports, women's sports, and then all inclusive, like where it's all men, like all genders are in their own division.
Well, yeah, I'm for that. Like I would be definitely for that if transgenders or just make a league where it's just like everybody can compete in that league. Where you have, I guess, like a unisex league. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other thing too, and we've talked about this before, but I'm like, and I know that there are, I can already see it now. People want to, I'll say it first, but have sports based on chromosomes, right? So you have XX, XY. Yes, I know there are outliers there, but generally speaking, we can all agree that covers the vast majority.
Don't even address it. So you mean don't even address it as men sports or women's sports? Address it as by the chromosomes?
I hate it, but if we're gonna make it,
yeah, I mean,
fair,
yeah, if we're gonna make it fair, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that because what that does is box the transgender or the transgender community into a corner because they're not going to be able to say, hey, because gender is a social, construct or a social thing. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not talking about their biological. You're talking about. So okay, we'll just get rid of all of that and just leave. I like that. Chromosomes, strictly,
biology.
Yeah, strictly chromosomes.
Follow the science.
Yes, follow the science. Yes, let's
Yes.
do that. Follow the science. XY league, XX league. Period. And let's see what happens.
Yep.
Let's see what happens. That's what they should do. I agree with that. That is a great solution.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Now if we can get more people on it.
It's just like, you come up with that solution and everybody's going to
They're going to find problems with
it.
Debate
You'll be canceled. Oh,
Yeah.
you are transphobic. You don't want to address the you want to what's the word? You want to silence the transgender community. You want to make them disappear.
No. No, not at all. And it just makes fair even playing ground
even playing field. Yeah.
Thank you.
And even playing
Speaking
field.
of sports.
Yeah.
But the other thing too that I wanted to touch on was why was this an executive order?
Yeah.
Why did Biden make this an executive order?
It's a good question.
I don't understand. There was literally no need for that. And you want to talk about authoritarian, dictatorship type.
Mm-hmm.
That's one right there. That's a social issue that the people should vote on. People should have a voice.
Yes.
There's no reason why that should be an executive order.
Yeah, that shouldn't be an executive order at all. Yeah, because all of the issues we have, you're going to use an executive order on that, on a population that's not even 1% of the population. You're going to take that and use that executive order on that. It's like where you are really pandering now.
Yeah,
you are really pandering. So yeah, I agree. I don't understand why you did that, and I guess we're transphobic people. We're both transphobic. So I want to go into another topic, cancel culture. Trump talked about that and he explained it beautifully. I really enjoyed how he hit on it. And he kept doing it throughout the entire speech, the cancel culture. And now there are leftists, or not, I don't want to say leftists, but there are liberals like Bill Maher that are starting to speak out about cancel culture. And he put it beautifully when he was talking about how this guy from he worked for the San Diego Energy and Gas Company, or Gas and Energy Company. And he was driving a company car and he had his hand out. I guess this is the white power sign, but he has his hand out car window. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's BS.
It was a trolling maneuver.
Yeah. But he could have been doing anything, but he had his hand out like this to the car. He had his hand out like this. And somebody took a picture of that and sent it to his job and he got fired. And this is cancel culture. This is what we need to address because each year it's getting worse and worse.
Yep.
This is disgusting. This guy lost his job because he could have been doing anything. He could have been, even Bill Maher, he could have been flicking his booger. I'm not a big fan of Bill Maher, but at least, I'm glad, I respect him for calling that out.
Yeah.
And it's like, where does it end? This whole woke cancel culture BS, it's destroying this country.
It won't end. And this kind of ties in, I don't know if we're going to address it or not, but being actively anti-politically correct, I think is going to be one of the only ways to stop this cancel culture, which is something I've been for, and ask any of those that know me, like even as a liberal, the PC culture just has always killed me. Like, I can't do it. So anyway, it's a joke.
Liberals can't even do it.
Here's
the thing: liberals can't even do it. Like, there's a guy at my there's a guy that I know. He is like a 100% like super liberal, right? And we're talking, and there's this other guy that I know. He's really short, and he referred to him as a midget, and it was like, whoa, that's not PC. You're not supposed to say midget, because midget is derogatory. I mean, last time I checked, that's a derogatory word.
I believe it's little people.
Little people is the way you're supposed to address people who have that condition. So he was calling this guy a midget, and it's like, he was like this super liberal dude, and they can't even abide by their own rules.
No, of course they can, but they're going to call out other people when it's convenient for them.
Yeah, it's a joke.
It is a joke. I think, I don't want to say, I was just going to say a lot of my liberal inner circle.
Go ahead, say it.
No, they don't have, this is probably why we're so close, but they don't have that PC.
Yeah, and
So I don't want to say it's all liberals by any means, but it's definitely
a lot of them. A lot of them can't follow their own thing. They can't follow their own, and maybe there's some liberals. I think there's a lot of liberals that aren't PC. There are some people who are actual real liberals. So maybe your friends are actual real liberals.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, mainly the woke liberals. Yeah. The woke liberals are disgusting. The woke liberals that, because the same person that I know, you say anything about transgenders and they'll get all they'll jump on your head and bite it off, But you're so quick to call somebody a midget. It's like, get out of here. I don't even want to deal with you.
I mean, and I think it's, like, there's a big difference between, having like a bra type, like going back and forth, like just what's a term I'm looking for? Just like an exchange of friendly punches,
Right.
It's like, okay. There's a difference between that and like
being
outright,
malicious.
Being malicious. Yeah. That, of course, shouldn't be. Nobody should take that.
Yeah, I don't think you should be malicious about any. If you're just saying it, like just doing like locker room talk, or you're just talking with your boys and you're just saying it. It's not like admittedly, it's not like the guy was like, oh yeah, look at that midget. You're just such a short midget, He was just saying it just like in passing. My thing is that if you were to say something like, I was just using because we were just talking about transgender, or if you were to say anything, even if you say it in a joking way, like there's some groups, like, I don't know, let's say that you were saying something in a joking way about like using a derogatory term towards like Hispanics or something, or towards blacks or something. You can't even joke about that with liberals, or make any racial jokes with liberals, like woke liberals, and it's one of those things that with this particular person, he's able to make jokes about a certain group of people, but if you make a joke about a certain group of people, like he'll jump on your head and bite it off. And it's like, you're a hypocrite.
Selective outrage.
Yeah, selective outrage. You're a hypocrite.
Well, who was that country singer that just got canceled? Did you hear about that? I'm not condoning the use of the N-word by any means, but he said that to his friend, who I believe is black, in like a joking manner. And because the neighbor recorded it, the exchange, the singer was drunk, and it was like he was like stumbling to his door, like, I don't know. I haven't heard from the friend, but it seemed from what I saw to be like a friendly exchange, and it's like it wasn't malintent behind it. And so it's like you're literally going to cancel this up and coming star for something that you have no context for in their relationship. Like,
you can't even recite lyrics from a song.
Right.
You can't even recite lyrics from a song and they'll cancel you. So this right here, they're going. Oh yeah, they're definitely. And the guy's a country singer. Oh, they're definitely gonna jump on that.
Fully canceled.
Yeah.
But even at which show was it? It was at some hip hop artist show. He brought someone up on stage. I wish I could recall.
Oh yeah, it was oh man, YG, the rapper YG.
Was it?
I think it was YG.
Where
he had a song called F Donald Trump or F Trump or something. And then, are you talking about the one where he brought the kid up on stage and made him say F Donald Trump, and the kid wouldn't do it?
No, not that one. I didn't even hear about that one.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm talking about where this artist brought up a white girl, I think it was, to sing the lyrics.
Yeah. Oh, and he kicked her off the stage after she sung the lyrics.
Right. And it's like that to me seems like
that's
a
why
setup,
I don't ever say the N word. I never say it. You've never heard me say it.
Never.
I never say the N word, and the reason why I don't say it is because I want to be able to say, okay, yeah, that's whack that you're saying it, because majority of black people who say the N word will jump all over your throat if you say it. Yeah. Because of some kind of, we took the word back. No, the word is the word. Like, you're a hypocrite. You didn't take the word back. How are you going to take a word back when you never had it in the first place? You didn't invent the word. Did you invent the word? So how did you take the word back? You don't take the word back. The word is the word. Either you say it, either it's okay to say it, or you don't say it at all. So I don't abide to that whole thing where, certain people can say it. And then black people are such hypocrites. They let Hispanics say it. They let, who's that rapper? Tekashi. The guy's not black. You know Tekashi, right?
Is he like the super tatted face? Yeah. Did he go to jail for a minute?
Yeah, he went to jail, or he was on trial to go to jail, and he went to jail and I think that he snitched on one of his boys. Yeah, he snitched on one of his boys, and he says the N-word all the time in his raps. Who's the other guy? He endorsed Trump, actually. There was another one. He did a song with Kanye West recently. I think it was last year. I forget his name. But he's Hispanic. He says the N-word. A bunch of people say the N-word. As long as they're not white, it's okay to say the N-word. So when a black person gets mad, I'm just like, you're a joke. You don't enforce the rule. You don't enforce the rules for everybody. So why should anybody take you serious? So like when people try to cancel you for saying the N-word, or these it's always they always target white people, because white people are, I guess, when it comes to that, they're low hanging fruit. Yeah. You know, so they're able to, I can wag my finger at you and cancel you because you said the N-word 100 years ago.
Clearly, you hate all black people.
Yeah, it's like they take one. It's like the guy made a mistake. Maybe the guy made a mistake. He was drunk. You're gonna cancel him now? Mm-hmm. It's just it's stupid. No, like you said, there's no context. He was with his friend. He obviously is not a racist guy.
Right.
If he's with black people, if he's hanging out with black people.
But don't you know you can be racist and still have...
You could even be married to a black person and still be racist. Yeah. What a joke. Yeah. What a joke. So so he did address cancel culture throughout the whole State of the Union, and I thought that was good. The whole CPAC State of the Union, I thought that was good. The whole thing with the defunding the police, that rhetoric. Now, I've always said, and you know me, I used to be a back the blue guy. Yeah. I'm not a 100% back the blue guy anymore. And that has a lot to do with how the police handle this pandemic. But I do support the police. When I think of back the blue, I just feel like people, oh, we're gonna back the blue no matter what.
No.
I'm definitely not that type of guy.
It's not unconditional. Sorry,
Right.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're right. No, thank you for adding that in. Like it's definitely not unconditional. I'm not a person that's just gonna back the blue for everything they do. I will look at the facts. I will look at everything that goes on in each situation.
Yep.
And more often than not, police are pretty good and they're pretty efficient at what they do. The majority of them are. So when somebody says defund the police, it's kind of like, I hate that. I can't stand it. It's something that I do not support.
Right.
And we need to encourage our police to keep up the good work. They can do better, keep up the good work, but always improve.
Yeah, which they have been.
Yeah.
If you look at data over the past decade even,
Yes.
it's like, pew, it's tapered off significantly. And I think there's always room for improvement. I do think there is some police reform that could happen. You know, we could have a less militant, police force. That's, I could be open to that. But when you're saying defund the police, but you're saying they don't have enough training, they have issues, well, then shouldn't we give the police more funds?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we give them better training? Shouldn't we pay for better mental health care for police that are under severe psychological stress?
When you say militant, what do you mean by that?
Just militant appearing. Because
what is a militant appearing? Like in riot gear?
In the right scenario, that's of course needed. But I think a lot of people's argument is that, police show up on a scene and, they're, in full gear, it's like bulletproof vests, taser, mace, gun, so it's very, and it's gotten more militant appearing over time.
Yeah. I remember Biden talking about like the police has all this riot gear and they don't need riot gear because, and I could see that how the optics would.
Yeah, just an optics thing.
Yeah, an optics thing. But I feel like at the same time, if there's a lot of police, I want the more police on the scene, the better. Yeah. Because there is more eyewitnesses on the scene. Whenever there's a lot of police, you're going to have a lot of cameras out.
Yep.
A lot of people are going to be pulling out their cameras just so you can see the situation. So I like the idea of more police on the scene. I like the idea of more police in the area because that is, the more police there are, the more accountability will be there.
Absolutely. So, well, I think, yes, 100% that. I also think another point to it, too, is if we want to have better trained police officers that have more psychological training, so they're talking about, having social workers coming out instead of police, which I think in some situations, I guess, could maybe work. But so if we want the police to be all these things, then we better be prepared to pay police to be all these things.
Yep. If you wanna, some kind of psych doctor to go out there or some kind of police officer to be trained to deal with those type of situations, you better be forking over the money.
Or vice versa, have a mental health care person trained as a police officer. Yeah. If that's their background. Then yeah.
My thing with these defund the police, like they say that, oh yeah, well we need to have this training and we need to have this and that, and just defund the police and these AC AB people that are just like so crazy.
Okay.
They just
Yeah.
want to just get rid of the police, period.
Right.
Those are people that I cannot stand. Because here's what they're doing. You want to get rid of police, and then what?
Right.
Where's the security element? Like where is the security element
Right.
going to come into?
Because communities aren't stepping up.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other thing. You look at places like Seattle, for example, where their police force is mass exodus, because they're like, forget this, I'm not doing it. So they're down significant amount of police officers. Communities, I'm all for community watch, whatever. But I don't think we have strong enough communities in general to pull that off. And the other issue with it, and then you kind of get into when they do come together, you're looking at militias, right?
Yeah.
Militias controlling the streets, which, in certain circumstances, okay, maybe in certain extreme, but on a regular basis, I'm sorry, I don't want militias,
like regular civilian policing the streets,
self-trained, like you want to talk about, I don't know.
And that's when you get another Trayvon Martin situation, and the guy was innocent in a court of law, but the optics of that is just going to create more division.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's going to create more division, even though the guy was in the court of law, presumed to be or he was judged to be innocent by his peers. BLM is not going to look at that and be like, oh yeah, we're just going to accept that. They're not going to accept that. They're just going to see a white person that killed a black person.
Right.
That's all they're going to see, and that's all they care about. So you're just setting up more situations like that.
Right, exactly.
If you defund the police.
Yep.
You're just setting up more Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin situations if you want to do that. And then on top of that, who is this going to affect the most? You defund the police, who is this going to affect the most? This is going to affect poor people, minorities mostly.
I was just going to say that.
Right. And then on top of that, most of these cities where these minorities live, they're heavily blue, deep blue cities that are just 100% for gun control.
Hello, Chicago.
Yes, exactly. So the law-abiding people that live in these ghettos can't even defend themselves. Right. They cannot go to the store or go to the gun store and buy a gun because the rules and the laws are so crazy. You got to jump through 100 million hoops just to get a dang gun.
You got to go out of state.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
go out of the
city to go and buy a dang gun because your state or your city is just so gung-ho on gun control.
Which if you're poor and trying to get out of the, transit is a real situation.
So, right, exactly. And you're not even giving these people like a second option. You're just saying, okay, defund the police. And that's why I say defund the police and then what?
Right.
These people have to live with these killers. These people have to live with these rapists, these thugs, these criminals, these drug dealers, whatever. These poor people, these poor minority people are the ones that are living amongst these people. So if you're going to take away the police from them and you're not giving them a gun or something to protect themselves and their family, how are you even a friend to that community? That's why I say to hell with BLM. That's why I say to hell with these activist groups that don't even think or have any kind of real solution for these people that may have some issues with the police. Those are not real solutions. Defunding the police is not a solution. That's just a freaking little Band-Aid on a gaping wound, like a little kid Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Yeah. Like, no.
Sorry. I think in the case of BLM, they're self-proclaimed Marxists. And if you look at Yuri's videos, Yuri Bezmenov. I think that's how you say his last name. Anyway, the way that it's setting up for is for like psychological subversion, essentially. So this taking away the police is just one step in the process of a very long process to convert a country into Marxism, or which BLM admittedly is. They're trained Marxists. Isn't that what they said?
Yeah.
So that's a huge flag, and I don't know why that's not talked more about. Like, it's going to create more chaos. So.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's they're trying to create an issue, and it's like they're putting it's like they're like wolves in sheep's clothing, in my opinion. They are pretty much just, okay, we needed to fund the police, but they have a more sinister ulterior motive behind that.
Right, but it's not even that hidden. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, it's playing out, but the mainstream is not going to point that out. They're just going to say BLM, social justice, policeman bad.
And good-hearted Americans that are like hoodwinked by BLM are just going to be like, oh yeah, like we saw this summer.
Yeah.
Marched in droves when all that energy could have been, put towards actual change.
Actual change within the community. BLM raked in the money. They gave some to the Democrats. They gave Democrats their cut because Democrats, it's like I said, the BLM, they're nothing but a political arm of the Democrat Party, the political arm of the DNC. They were put out there on purpose to pretty much manipulate and control the narrative and switch the narrative to make it look, because it was Trump's presidency where this happened under. BLM was brought out there to make it look like Trump's America.
Right.
Under Trump's America, you have massive protesting. The optics, the media ran with that. And the media, even though they were out there causing all kinds of ruckus and all kinds of destruction, the media made it a point to make sure that they said this is mostly peaceful. So what you have is groups out here that are protesting Donald Trump's America. You also have the backing of the media to spin that narrative into making it look like Trump is this dictator.
Exactly.
That is evil dictator that is just
this fascist.
While you have these brave BLM people out in the streets fighting the power.
Right.
The whole thing was disgusting because in reality these people were terrorists.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah. Not speaking of the everyday marcher, but those that were out burning down American businesses,
well, they're, like you said,
attacking federal buildings, they're absolutely terrorists.
Yeah, like you said, the people were most of those people that were out there were not out there to cause destruction.
No.
But they were hoodwinked by the BLM narrative.
Right.
And they caused an environment so these people who were going out there and causing destruction they cause an easier environment for them to do it. And then also a lot of them that were being asked about it were saying that stuff was justified. So at the end of the day, I'm like, even though you were out there protesting, even though you conducted yourself in a peaceful manner, your actions allowed that environment to come out. Because I was like, at one point, at this point, when it started going on for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, months, they started protesting for months, and I'm like, at this point, the cops were already arrested. Why are you still out here? the cops were arrested after the George Floyd thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
The cops were arrested within like, I mean, what was it, 10 days? Maybe a couple of weeks?
Was it? I don't even know. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
There was so
well, the
much.
cops were arrested. Okay,
Yeah.
in a maybe not in a timely manner that they wanted to do, but police work is tricky, and there has to be a full, thorough investigation
Right.
before you pull, because police are licensed to do certain things, like the threshold for apprehending somebody or going through procedures. They have license to do it. They are certified in being able to do it. They are sworn in as officers of the law to protect the law. So they have a little bit of more leeway.
Right.
So it takes more time for these investigations to go through, as opposed to you or I. If something happens, we're getting arrested like immediately.
Right.
Because if something happens, if that were to happen and I was a civilian and I were to put my knee on somebody's neck and they died, like I would be immediately arrested, you know, but because I'm a civilian. But these police officers were trained to do that. Now, the amount of time that he had his knee on this guy's neck was something, you know, to be investigated.
Yep.
And something that raised some kind of concern. But it is my opinion that George Floyd overdosed, and the autopsy supports that. So I mean, yes, the optics were bad. The police officer, that's why they dropped the murder charge from second degree to third degree or manslaughter or something like that. Yeah, they dropped.
Yeah.
They couldn't say that it was murder because. Right. When you look at the tape, when you look at the whole thing and all the extra tape that was hidden from the people, you realize what actually happened.
Right.
And you can't look at that tape and say that it was murder.
No, I don't think that was their intent
yeah.
at all. I did originally.
Yeah,
like
because
I
they
did
only
jump
gave us
on
one
that.
piece.
Exactly. So I was like, this is messed up. Like, arrest him. But
it's just like, you know, after they arrested him, they just kept going. And it went on months after he arrested, and they created the whole chop thing. They just were going crazy. They used that thing and they used it during the election time. And that's why I think it was like the whole thing was just so sinister and it's just like dirty. It was just like, oh, this is disgusting because they're using, you don't let a good crisis go to waste.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say, too. Mm-hmm. It was the perfect storm. And I think, I genuinely believe that the Democratic Party...
You know, I don't think it was a perfect storm. I think it was a plan. Like,
exactly.
This happened. They took... This happened with George Floyd, and that is like a perfect storm to me. When I look at a perfect storm, I look at that, dang, it wasn't planned and it wasn't coincidental. Yeah. It just happened to happen. The perfect storm just happened to happen. But these people got marching orders.
100%.
I think so. I have no proof of it, but I do think that they got marching orders because follow the money. Yep. Follow the, what was it called? What was that thing?
Blue.
Act Blue.
Yeah. Well, I do agree with you, and that was... perfect storm wasn't a great term, but because it was a planned.
Yeah.
I think as soon as the pandemic hit, I think.
Oh yeah, when you bring that in, that makes sense. Yeah.
Once you have the pandemic hit, it's like, okay, this is what the game plan is: lockdowns, get people isolated, freaked out, losing their jobs, pent up frustration and fear. I would bet money on the fact that as soon as the George Floyd incident happened, it was like, boom, let's go.
Yeah.
Roll out. Like
everything.
You said, you all have your marching orders. Get this amped up. Keep it going. We need more chaos.
Yeah, because you can't tell me like this thing wasn't planned, because every single time, it never fails. Every time during election time, there's some kind of thing that is just, it's not a coincidence.
No.
I mean, I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. Mm-mm. And it's always during election time. And speaking of elections, Donald Trump, he also hit on the thing about the fair elections. Having fair elections, having elections that make sure there is voter integrity, making sure that there is just restoring the confidence in the voters.
Yep.
You have half of a country that is just not happy with how this whole thing went down.
Right.
First of all, you had certain states that completely changed their rules based on the BS that happened with the pandemic. They used that as a way to change the rules. Like I said, I was going to touch on this earlier, where they used COVID, the Chinese Wuhan virus, to change the rules of the state. These weren't the state legislators that changed these rules. These were local politicians, judges that approved this. They just completely jumped over the middleman, the person who is supposed to approve this, the state legislators. They are supposed to be the ones that change the rules. They leapfrogged them and just ignored them. And they were able to get these things changed. Change the rules, and this happened like, it's not like it happened in the middle of the year or in the beginning of the year. It happened weeks before the election.
Right.
So they need to do, the Republicans, that needs to be the number one thing that they're fighting for. They need to fight for it. And when these midterms come, they need to, the politicians that are up, the politicians that are up for re-election, or the politicians that are going to be primarying these Republicans, that needs to be a big issue.
Yep.
If it's not, then they don't need to be in office. Voter integrity, voter ID, that needs to be something that they need to let the voters know that they are going to be fighting for.
That's a top priority.
Top priority. Yep. Top priority. Yep. So if that's one thing that I'm going to be looking for when I vote in the midterms. I'm going to be looking at, okay, what's this guy? That's okay. Yeah, this guy's good on guns. This guy's good on the border. This guy's good on whatever. What is his views on voter integrity? What are his views on voter ID? I need to know that before I circle your name, because I'm not doing no dang, because you got an R next to your name, I'm going to freaking vote for you. I don't do that. I never did that.
Yep.
I don't even consider myself a Republican. So I consider myself a conservative first. So you need to have that as one of your top priorities.
Agreed.
When I vote for you.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I think we could have anticipated that was something Trump was going to touch on.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Sure. It comes as no surprise, right?
Yeah.
But I think he placed a lot of emphasis on it, and we can only not only just hope, but hold our elected officials accountable. Like, okay, like, are you going to adhere to this? What efforts are you going to make? What smart goals are you going to put into action?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and he also talked about one thing that I was so like, when he said that, I was like pumping my fist. Yeah, it was 1 day freaking elections. I am sick and tired of why can't we have people who count? How come every single state, besides swing states, it's always the damn swing states that don't know how to count. They cannot count. It's always something that, something happened, so we gotta shut it down and continue it the other day. We just got this ballot of boxes that we forgot to count it, and we gotta count this. Boxes of ballots, and we gotta count this. oh, well, the pipe burst, so we have to shut down everything, and we'll continue to count tomorrow. How come a state like Florida that has 21 million people, right? They know how to count. Texas knows how to count. California knows how to count. But the swing states don't know how to count.
They know how to count.
Yeah, they know
how to count. Like, that's not the issue. But,
yeah.
But that's how they make it appear.
Yes. One-day elections.
Right.
Period. One-day election. We need to know who the damn president is the first day of the election.
Make it a
yeah.
Make it a national holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So people, it's like, you have the day off. Shut the country down for a day.
Yeah.
To as much as an extent as we can. Open up more voting poll places.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's more accessible. You're not, because that was my first thing. I was like, oh, I don't want to stand in line for 5 hours to vote. I'll do it, but there are some logistics to figure out on that front, but it is possible, and I don't know why we don't.
Yeah, first one-day elections. That should be. I shouldn't have to. Excuse me. I shouldn't have to be freaking waiting a whole freaking month to figure out who the president is.
Weeks. That's insanity.
That's crazy. No. That's crazy. So yeah, he hit on that really hard. The whole thing about the elections. He also hit on big tech. Now, this is one topic that I don't think Trump is doing enough on. I'm sorry, but that is one thing that I am so upset about how Trump handled it. He could have tackled this issue a long time ago. This was going on all the way back from when I started noticing it, and is when they banned Alex Jones. When they banned Alex Jones, that was the first time I noticed it, because Alex Jones holds a special place, in my political, I don't want to say career, my political journey. Mm-hmm. He holds a special place in my political journey because he is the one who red pilled me. I don't know about him so much nowadays because he has said some things over the course of his career that I do not agree with. But at the same time, I noticed him because he was the one that red pilled me. Now, when they banned him, they banned Lori Loomer, they banned a plethora of other conservatives. Mm. Conservatives have been screaming about this at the top of their lungs for the longest. And Trump and his administration have done nothing about it. They do a lot of talking, but they have done nothing about it. The Republicans are even worse. The Republicans do nothing. They had the House, they had the Senate, they had the presidency, they had everything on their side, and they did nothing about big tech. They just let big tech run rampant. And a lot of these establishment Republicans are getting paid by big tech. So that is one of the reasons why. And Jim Jordan, as much as I like Jim Jordan, he is a guy who is getting paid by big tech. So he's not going to be out there screaming at the top of his lung about big tech. There's only a few guys that are screaming. I think it's Josh Hawley is one of the guys that's talking about it, and I respect him for that. But not very many people are talking about big tech. They'll talk about it in passing, but what are they really doing? I mean, Ted Cruz talks about it, but what is he really, what is he really doing? Like, what are they doing? They'll bring them in for these stupid little hearings, and then these big tech CEOs, they act stupid. They play stupid, you know.
I'll just check with my team, and I'll circle back to you.
Yeah, I'll circle back to you. Yeah. My team will talk to your team, and we'll do lunch.
Yeah,
exactly. And we'll talk about it.
The hearings are a joke. Nothing comes of them.
Yeah, it's just grandstanding, and it's just a theater for me.
But I mean, I think that more people, I do still appreciate him surfacing the issue because it does need to be addressed. I'm not for necessarily repealing the 230 because I do think we need that in place, but I do think we need to enforce it better. Like,
I think I heard a lot of YouTube people talking about it, like how they don't really necessarily need for it to be abolished.
Right.
It just needs to be enforced. Because if these big tech companies get their everything repealed, like the 230 repealed, then they're going to be able to be authoritarian type big tech companies, because even though they are already, but they're going to be even more authoritative, because they're going to be able to cancel and ban anybody that says anything that's out of their, because they don't want to be sued.
Right.
They don't want to be held liable for it.
Well, and then so what's going to happen is these smaller alt techs, alt platforms that are coming up, they're going to be quashed.
Yeah, they're going to be quashed because they can't
immediately.
Support.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to hold up to it. Like the 230 protects them.
Yeah.
So I'm not for pulling that back, but definitely enforcing it and working. Trump said something along the lines of breaking up big tech, kind of bringing back. Giving back power and the opportunity for other businesses to flourish, small businesses, which, we're obviously as one Patriot.
I'm definitely, I definitely agree with that, because it's like they hold a monopoly on everything, these big tech
People
companies.
Say, no, they don't. And it's like, no, actually, they really do.
Yeah.
They do.
They do. People will use like not big words, but like semantics, and like they'll just be like, oh yeah, it's not really a monopoly because technically this and technically that. No, they have loopholes to where they can squash the little guy, and they can put themselves in position. Like it's they can lobby who they need to lobby because they have the money. And they're able to squash the little guy.
Yeah. So
yes, it is a monopoly. It's just a monopoly in a roundabout way.
Right.
So when people try to say, well, technically, well, actually, like, get out of here.
Get out.
Yeah. So but I do want to definitely hit on the fact that Trump has definitely not done enough about big tech, because me in particular, I have been screaming about this, and not that he's going to listen to me, but I mean, I've always been consistent on how big tech is just terrible against conservatives right now. And also some liberals and leftists, they're really bad with them too. Yep. So, but it seems like the target is anybody who is against the establishment, which conservatives have a louder voice right now. The left might think that they're against the establishment, but they're really not. No. But the conservatives, the establishment will definitely target the conservatives, because the most conservatives are populist, which is against the establishment. Right. The establishment who the corporatists and the big tech people pay. So they will do anything to crush that movement. So I feel like Trump needs to definitely do more. Stop begging these freaking big tech platforms to let you back on. Yeah. Stop asking Facebook. Stop asking Twitter to let you. Stop begging Twitter to, like, they're having these hearings with these committee board members of freaking Facebook to whether he is let back on Facebook or not. Are you kidding me? Yeah. When you are freaking Donald Trump, I think Tim Pool was like, you're freaking Donald Trump, man. What the hell? Why are you begging these people? Like, you're bigger than these people. You can literally start your own platform and destroy, you can kill them by starting your own platform. Like, you have that clout. You have the clout. Yeah. You're Donald Trump.
I think, one point before I bring up this other subject is just like election security, This is something that we really have to keep an eye on when we're, in 2 years.
Yes.
If people running for office are not standing up for this and like vocal about it and like this is my plan, this is what we're gonna do.
I want to see a thorough laid out plan on how you're going to tackle this.
Yep.
Because if this is not on your agenda, we're not gonna throw our vote behind you. We're not gonna get behind you. Big tech is an important issue, very important issue, and conservatives better get in the game, and they better start demanding their political people to start addressing this topic.
Because big tech's only going to keep getting stronger. It's going to grow bigger, and they're going to interfere with more and more elections. Yeah. Trump this election cycle was just the beginning.
Just the beginning.
It will only escalate from here. So
I mean, come on. I mean, even Time Magazine admitted big tech had a lot to do with, the influence of this election.
Yeah. What did they? What was the term they used? Reinforcing. I can't remember exactly. Whatever BS term they used. It was like, wow. Yeah, they just said it.
Yeah,
like,
and
flat
Trump
out.
talked about that in the State of the Union, the CPAC today. He talked about it, and it was just, they came out and admitted it. And this is just like, it's because, you want to know why they do that? You don't come out like emboldened to say something like that unless you don't fear the consequences.
Right.
You don't come out with an article like that unless you don't fear the consequences. Conservatives, Republicans, whoever, you want to identify yourself on the right. All we do is just say, wow, look at that. That's a double standard. Oh my gosh. But we don't necessarily do anything about it.
No.
That's where we come in and say, hey, we need to press our representatives. We need to press anybody who's going to be running for office, anybody who's going to be primarying or up for re-election, whoever. This better be on your agenda.
And not only should it be on your agenda, you should act on it once put in office.
Yes.
If your representative is going off and saying, oh, these are what I'm going to do, I mean, it's very similar to a lot of Democrats. Anyway, I won't go down that rabbit hole, but it's like if you're not actually doing it once you're in office, the people need to hold their representatives to the flame. Hold them, or hold them to the coals, whatever the saying is.
Yeah.
And hold them accountable. And if they're not doing their job, get them out. Put someone else out. Bye, Felicia. Bye. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. These people need to be held accountable. There's no more. We're not playing that anymore.
No.
Anybody who is up for re-election needs to be, or up for re-election, or maybe going up to primary one of these people that are in office. That definitely needs to be a top priority. Speaking of political people who are up for re-election, or just political people, period, Trump, this is going to be our last topic, but Trump addressed the rhinos. The rhinos, this was something that this was another topic, along with the big tech, that I was a little bit disappointed in how he addressed it. He talked about earlier that no, it's fake news that I'm starting a new party. It's fake news that I want to challenge the Republican Party. All right, cool, that's fine. I'm fine with that. You don't want to start your new party. And he started calling out the usual suspects, the Liz Cheneys, the Mitt Romneys, the low-hanging fruit, and then he vaguely, kind of lightly addressed the whole Mitch McConnell, he kind of lightly criticized Mitch McConnell. I understand that you want to have party unity.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to understand that you are Donald Trump. You are Donald Trump. And they need to be realizing that the party is going to be marching to the beat of your drum. So either you get your act together, because he knows the influence that he had. He even pointed it out when he said Mitch McConnell was down. What was he? He was only leading
He was down 1 point.
Yeah, he was down 1 point, and it wasn't until he got his endorsement that Mitch McConnell had a comfortable lead.
He shot up 20 points.
Shot up 20 points.
Yeah.
Because the people were pissed off at Mitch McConnell.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
People were pissed off at Mitch McConnell, but it wasn't until Trump came and gave him that endorsement that his points went skyrocketed up, and he was able to build that comfortable lead.
Yeah.
Trump did not really lay into Mitch McConnell, and he did it, I guess, in a letter where he really laid into Mitch McConnell, and I was really happy about that. But it would have been nice to see him do it live in color. And I know that he wants to have party unity.
Right.
He didn't. I wish he would have addressed the people like Lindsey Graham. I wish he would have addressed the people who are on the Supreme Court, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah. I mean, he mentioned it, but not by name
He
specifically.
he said these cowardly drudges. No, address these people. Yeah. Say that you appointed them. You put them in the position that you're in right now. Do something to appease your constituents.
Yeah.
Say these things. Tell them that you're disappointed in these people.
Right.
You know, let the people know that you're not happy. Yep. These rhinos that you addressed were low-hanging fruit. We all know that they're trash.
Right.
Target people like Tim Scott. Held their feet to the fire. Tim Scott, the guy that you helped pass the First Step Act. This guy betrayed you when it came to the election time. He didn't stick up for you during the election time. Talk about Lindsey Graham. Talk about these other rhinos that are Republicans in sheep's that are not Republicans. They're just wolves in sheep's clothing. I wish he would have addressed these Republicans that like to ride his coattails, but at the end of the day, they're not really for the MAGA agenda.
No. I think that there's a couple things that Trump really needs to be careful about with this endorsement strategy, because I think he's implementing it to set himself up for 2024, right? Because he's hoping that by doing this, he's going to have support of the GOP, right? He endorses certain candidates. It puts him in a strong strategic position. Yeah.
McConnell is good for the next 6 years, I guess, and it's not like he's going to be up for midterms. I guess it really wouldn't make any sense for him to criticize McConnell. But I feel like.
But he needs to be careful. Here's the thing: is because, and you've called this out many times, is that the people. Trump has not put the best people on his team. People he thought that he was on his side have ended up royally screwing him. So if he's going to go about this tactic, then he needs to be very wise about who he actually endorses. Yeah. Are these people actually going to help him, or are they just in it for their moment, for their own self-gain?
Riding his coattails. Are they going to support him, which in turn is an indirect way supporting the people? Because people love Donald Trump.
Right.
Obviously, there are people that hate Donald Trump, but there are people who love Donald Trump and are ride or die for them. But you continually put these people that are not for the people that are ride or die for you, the normal, regular, everyday people. You continue to surround yourself with these just political leeches.
Hacks, yeah.
Yeah, hacks, leeches.
Leech. I like leech.
Yeah, they're just leeching off you. They don't really even care about you or care about your agenda. they just want to ride your coattails because it's good for them politically.
Right.
So it's I've always said this. He has poor judgment.
Yeah.
He has very poor judgment.
Yeah. And I think too, kind of touching back on the cancel culture thing, I think he does have to have some tact in who he's calling out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
You know, it's, some would say hypocritical to be like, oh, we got to stop this cancel culture, like, but then be calling out a list of people.
Well, yeah, I mean,
cancel,
and
but,
you know, I was in this chat room on Discord, and there were a bunch of liberals in there saying that same thing that you were saying, like, well, how is he gonna sit up there and be against cancel culture, but he's also calling out these other people who don't agree with him? But, okay, I agree with that. But at the same time, he's calling out people who try to get him impeached.
Right.
Liz Cheney, Bill, what's his name? Bob Sassy, a bunch of other rhinos that were in the Republican Party that pretty much had him impeached.
Right.
Voted for him to be impeached. And Mitch McConnell, even though he did vote to acquit Donald Trump, said, oh yeah, well, Trump, he said some harsh words about Trump. Oh yeah, well, Trump did pretty much cause the insurrection, but I'm not going to, impeach him. I'm not going to vote to impeach him. It was like, wow, why don't you just stand by your decision and get behind Trump and say, yeah, he may have not been, it may not have been something I did, but he did not cause an insurrection.
Right.
It was like Mitch McConnell he kind of threw Trump under the bus in a roundabout way. And that's why I think where that letter came from. That's why I think Trump wrote that letter about Mitch McConnell. Because even though he did vote to acquit him, Mitch McConnell was still talking a bunch of crap about him.
Of course. He doesn't like Trump.
He doesn't like Trump because he's established. He wants to get. He doesn't want to. He wants to go back to his good old days where he can. They don't solve any issues. They don't solve any real problems.
Sit and cushy, career politician. And no, by bringing that up, I didn't mean to insinuate that he shouldn't have said those things, just that he does need to be a little bit cautious. But like we were just saying, I think where the difference is that Trump isn't calling out cancel culture on these people. Mm-hmm. He's holding them accountable. Yeah. And you messed up. What are you going to do to fix it? Yeah. All you people around, watch, focus. And I think that's where the difference, where because I thought about it for quite a while. I don't think it's cancel culture tactic that he pulled. I think it's...
I don't either. I think it's these people that voted for him to be impeached, even though he wasn't even in office, they need to be called out. Mm-hmm. That isn't cancel culture. That is just well, what did you vote for him to be impeached for? He's not in office right now.
Right.
So that was just grandstanding on their part. That was just them to, kind of poke your finger in the eye of somebody, mm-hmm. So I'm just like, let him he can call them out all day. Mm-hmm. I don't care. That's not cancel culture to me.
Right. I support it.
Yeah. Well, on that note, once again, thank you guys for joining us. I am Burning Spear Patriot, and
I am Libby Patriot.
And this was the One Patriot podcast. You guys have a good day.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Peace out.